Let's turn it on. Yes, okay. I was at shul last week, and I noticed the Kli Yoker. And the Kli Yoker is in Kaf Aleph, and it is Posuk Tezayin. V'davar Shem Moshe Lemor. Daber el Aaron, speak to Aaron, Lemor, Ish Mizarcha, anyone from your progeny, L'Dorasan throughout your generations.
That's a good word.
Progeny, yes, prayer, yes. Asher, well done. And you're an American, that's incredible. Asher Yeh Boy Mum, who will have imum lo yikrav lahakriv lechem lalkov. He will not be able to do the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. So I noticed the Kli Yoker here, and I found it very, very. I mean, his diuk, what he notices about the posuk is very interesting. But did I tell you this? Yeah. Oh, so he says he has two things here. So let me read this bit to you. Ish mizarcha shaloi yeh bomum kan omer boimum. There will be boy in him imum a blemish, a flaw. But lamata hefech omer mum boy. But in Kaf Aleph, just in a few psukim time, it says mum boy. He has got a mum in him. And here it says, and there will be lahaba. Seems to imply in the future. Mashma va'achakach omar kol ish asher boy mum b'havai mashma. And when it says boy mum, it seems to be in the present tense. It will be, yeah. So any kohen who will have a mum in the future can't offer kabbalah. What's that mean? Because you already said that if he's got a mum in him, then he can't do that. It takes care of this. So this is Alken Omer Ani. So this is interesting. He says Omer Ani. So there's I shared this with Machavrusa. He was very upset by it. See if you're going to be upset by it. Omer Ani. Shakadmoinim shahaya bakin b'chochmas. The early rabbinic authorities who were bakian in all sorts of wisdoms, which we don't have today, then hoyayodim b'kol mum shenazhava ba'odam terem hayosa. They knew every flaw that a person was going to have before you had it. They knew you were going to break your leg, or you're going to break your arm, or well, yeah, I can see you looking appalled.
I think he means that type.
Sorry?
I don't think he means that type.
Oh, he does.
I think he means like he sees that you're coming down with lung disease.
Why did you choose that example?
Right?
Well, he actually. Well, we don't have to argue about it because he actually says so, and it's not fair because I've already seen it, so that's why I know I'm right, or he's right. So mitzad eitz oven sharabai, they know what's going to happen. That is going to be a flaw because they see an oven, they see a sin that lies within him, right? So they're able to. The famous story when I don't know if you know, there's a story about Stipler. If I go up telling you stories, well, this is going to be a 2-week shear, but okay. But this is too good to miss. There's a story about this about the Stipler, and as you know, the Stipler was completely deaf or profoundly deaf, and because when he was in the Russian army, they made him have to run the gauntlet between two groups of soldiers, and they beat him on the side of the head with the rifle butts, which ruptured the eardrums. So whatever you wanted to get from the Stipler, it had to be written down. So there was a fellow who was a chosen, and of course he wanted to get bracha from the great and holy Stipler. So he came and he wrote down in his little bit of paper, Ani Chatan, and he would say bracha, Miharav, etc. And the Stipler looked at him and said, "Go and bring me your Rosh Hashiva." And after he read the note, "Go and bring me your Rosh Hashiva." Now I don't know how you would be feeling at that moment. You come to get bracha, and go and bring me your Rosh Hashiva. So the Bocher comes back, I don't know when, but sometime later, with the Rosh Hashiva, and they both come in together, and the Stipler says to the Rosh Hashiva, "Tell the young man to wait outside." And so the young man has to wait outside. Now you're really not feeling very good. Anyway, the Rosh Hashiva, and the Stipler's sitting there or standing there, whatever, and he said to him, in Yiddish, "Wie macht a Shidduch mit a Yiddish Mädel and a guy?" How do you come to make a Shidduch with a Jewish girl and a non-Jewish boy? So the Rosh was busy writing down, I know the family, they come from America, they're lovely people, and the Bali Tzedakah, blah, 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 but she was none for a long time, and the boys meet his toivas, and he's Talmud Chacham, and he learns his Asmada, and all the Alakita Zachem, as they say. Stipler insisted that he was a non-Jewish person. Investigations were made, and it turned out, indeed, the great-grandmother, I don't know exactly where it goes to, but in the maternal line, directly in the maternal line, it was a phony Gerish, a phony conversion. So it was God. Wasn't a Jewish person. Afterwards, when this was discovered, they asked the stapler, "How did you know?" The stapler looked surprised at the question and said, "He didn't have an neshama." Now, I don't know when the last time you looked at somebody and read their neshama, but the stapler apparently used to do that commonly. Everybody, there's something we've mentioned a few times in the sharing. There is no synonyms in Lashon HaKodesh. Every word has a meaning. If you'd say Enosh, Ish, Gibor, Odom, you would translate them all as man. However, really, it means a type of man, a level of man. There are no synonyms. So if I was to ask you to translate Nefesh, what would you translate it as? Soul? Yeah. If I asked you to translate Neshama, how would you translate that? Soul. So we crashed into the rule of there are no synonyms.
Well,
So-
animals don't have a neshama.
Yeah, Nefesh, that's right. They have a Neshama. Right,
They
so
have a nefesh, not a neshama.
they have a Nefesh, no, that's right, yeah. But only human beings have a Neshama, and only Jewish human beings have a Neshama.
Not a neshama.
Sorry? Yeah, well, he was Jewish and non-Jewish at the same time, sort of thing. Well, he's not really, but complicated. Okay, whatever that means. Hold on a minute. Okay. Did he have a goof? Did he have a body?
Cossack seem to say so.
Yeah. So the Gemara of Messiah says that when he died, the light that shone from his heels was greater than 2 suns, and that's the lowest part of his body. So the Gemara then makes a series of Kal v'Chomers. How much more so's? If that's the light that shone from his heels, the lowest part of his body, the thumb's going up here. What sort of light shone from his head, the highest part of his body? And that's when he's dead. So what sort of light must have shone from his head when he was alive? But that's after he ate from the Eitz Hadas. So what was he like before he ate from the Eitz Hadas? So Rabbi Desta in Chelik Base, in page 138, if I remember correctly, when he talks about Adam Rishon, he says he was a creature of light. And the Malachim could not distinguish him from Hashem and wanted to sing Shir to him because they thought he was a body.
Hashem made him lower.
Sorry?
Hashem diminished him.
Well, he certainly diminished himself when he ate from the Eitz Hadas.
Well, before that,
I don't know, I'm not aware of that. Did I say that? Why did he do that?
he was because the Malachim couldn't distinguish between he and Shur.
Oh, okay. Could be. Anyway, why was I telling you that? Can't remember. Anyway, this story here. Okay, so he had a neshama. So what is a neshama? So I always, you can't see it because in my study upstairs there's a picture of my Rosh Hashiva, somebody called Reb Leib Gurevitz. And Reb Leib Gurevitz, you can see the right hand side of his head, that's right. He had, I don't know, it's some sort of cyst. It's a big cyst. It was about the size of a ping pong ball or a golf ball cut in half. And it stuck out here. And so he went once to his father-in-law Rebellia to ask him, should he have it cut out or drained or whatever you do with these things. To which he says, does it interfere with your learning? He said, no. It was very funny when he was thinking, he often used to take off his glasses and used to rub this thing, which would go flobbling about. You know, and he said, I remember when I was a younger man in Gateshead, I was davening a very long Shemona Esrei for some peculiar reason, uncharacteristic reason. I must have actually been davening the Gavana. See, it happened once. Anyway, so I finished all the boys, of course, because Bochum, of course, when it's after Mariv, it's feeding time, like locusts. Anyway, so there was somebody come up to me. There was a Bochum standing asking Reb Leib a question. And Reb Leib was leaning on the stand, had his glasses off, and he was doing this. And there was the Bochum leaning on the stand. He was doing this because you take on the affectations of your rabbis, etc. We called this his Toisus Harosh. Right. And we said that he had such, so many brains, they had to build an extension, to accommodate his brains. Right. So what am I telling that? Oh, lost my track. Oh, good. Right. So basically, what I was trying to say was like this: Jews have Tariq mitzvahs to keep. Non-Jewish people have how many? So the Ritva, I can't remember what the Ritva is, but many years ago I was in Shir Yerushalayim, and the Ritva says somewhere that the Ramban says that if you the Seres Adibras, you could work out the 603 mitzvahs from that. The Sefer I've got it upstairs. Very hard to learn. Actually, if you just did an Akeshem Akecha, somehow you could work out everything from that, but that's very complicated. If that's right, therefore, the ratio of 10 commandment. So let's call 10 commandments super mitzvahs, which will, it's a bit like, you buy a sachet of soup powder and you cut the corner, out comes all the powder. You pour in the right amount of water and it turns into a big bowl of soup with peas and tomatoes and stuff. So the Ten Commandments are like super commandments, and they expand into 613. So therefore, one of the 10 commandments, the commandments, is really as a ratio of 1 to 63. Is that right? 6.61. Yeah, 6. That's right. 6. That's right. Quite right. 61.3, isn't it? Okay. He says it's the same with the Shev Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, that they expand as well. But if it's the same ratio, then non-Jewish people have really got 420 mitzvahs to keep, which is interesting. There is actually a moshav outside Yerushalayim called B'nai Noach, which in those days had 400 families living in it. B'nai Noach, and they invited Rabbonim out from Yerushalayim to explain to them what's the halachic implications of keeping the Shev Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. The rabbi was giving the shir. Sorry?
They are Arab?
No, non-Jewish people. And this, in America, in the United States of America, there's over 1 million non-Jews keep the Shev Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Over 1 million. Anyway, but basically, you sometimes, and guys get this, when I say this in a woman's share and a girl's share, they just don't get this at all. If you ever drive into the main road here, you see very often, because those big trucks coming out of that, just before you get to the 878, there's those, that's called Burnside, right? Yeah. Burnside, right? There's those big trucks coming out. Very often, they've got 3 wheels at the back, and like 2 at the front, and then the actual truck that's pulling the trailer, whatever it's called. Sometimes the 3 wheels at the back, one of them is off the ground. Right? They can wheel it up. Why? Because when it's carrying an extra burden, then it needs an extra axle to carry. So when it's loaded, if it's fully loaded, they push this down so it carries the extra weight. But when it's empty, the guy's done the delivery, then they push it up, because why burn rubber when you don't need to? These tires cost, probably, I guess it was $1,000 each or something, a lot of money. So basically, that's exactly how this works. Because Klal Yisrael has an extra burden to carry, you're given an extra degree of soul. I call it super soul. Super as in the use of the word meaning extra. An extra degree of neshama, or soul, which we call a neshama, because you get an extra burden to carry. It's not as if they say non-Jewish people don't have mitzvahs to carry, they've got lots of mitzvahs to carry. But we've got more than those, and therefore we need an extra degree, a toisus of rosh, if you like, in order to be able to carry that as well. So the disciples said to this fellow, when they asked him, how did you know? He said, he saw souls. And when Rebbe Lapin went to Eretz Yisrael and went to Bracha with the Ger Rebbe, as soon as he walked into the room, the Ger Rebbe said, Anaya Neshama, a new soul. You could tell the quality of the soul. It was very unusual these days to have a new soul. We've all been here before, as Ramatzio said this year once upon a time. Anyway, some people see stuff like this. And finally, I was giving you a share this morning, and a lady said, I made the mistake of talking a little bit about dreams. People are very interested in dreams. What's their purpose, how they work. So there was a lady who told me, sorry, she dreams, and she dreams true, and she sees things, and she understands things in dreams, and she doesn't seem like a crazy person. There was somebody who used to come to my shir in Manchester, and he told me that he saw things. He said that he saw somebody in the Bima, and last Motzei Shabbos after Havdalah, and he knew that one of the 3 guys in the Bima, one was going to die that week. Wasn't sure which one, and one of them died that week. And various other stories he told me. And I tell you this story once.
He told you before the fact or after the fact?
Oh, he didn't tell me. He told me after the fact. And anyway, so basically, he then said to me that, that's right. He came to see me because he missed a share, and this is the days before YouTube, but I could put the share on so people could catch up. And he popped in to apologise, grumble, as you should be doing. Anyway, so basically, he came to apologise, and he said, I said, well, look, I've actually got an hour now if you want to send the share over to you. He said, would you? So I sat there and I gave him the whole share, and he said, oh, it's wonderful, thank you very much. He said, that was your Rosh Hashiva, he said, pointing to a picture of Rabbi Gurvins, the same picture as upstairs. There. I said, yes. I said, and you were very close to him, weren't you? I said, yes, Baruch Hashem. He said, because when you were saying the share, he was standing beside you at your right shoulder. And I said what every responsible rabbi would say, but very nice. And then he said, and there was a very smartly dressed lady. He said, I'm not sure, but I think it was his wife, and she was standing beside your other shoulder. I said, very nice. Anyway, so and he said, and that mezuzah there. Have I told this story? I seem to remember telling this story. That mezuzah there. There's something wrong with that mezuzah. Anyway, off he went. Now, that's a very good shtick, actually. There's a guy called Yuri Geller. Have I come across Yuri Geller?
Yeah.
He was in my house once. I can show you upstairs. I lost 6 spoons down there. Anyway, so basically, but this is a good shtick because, as you know, every uman, every craftsman, every master craftsman thinks every other master craftsman is rubbish. It's garbage. So it's a very, very good trick. You can do this. You just say, just try this next time you do something. I don't know why, but I think there's something wrong with that mezuzah. You're about to establish your reputation as one of the limitless tzaddikim here. So that's how the guy worries. We'll take it to a cipher. As long as it's not the cipher who wrote it, the cipher is guaranteed to go. Right, at that point, your fortune is made. Right, you're now a lamitless tzaddik. Right, people come to you for brokers. Okay, fine. So, but I was concerned about this. So I had it checked, and of course somebody said it was okay, but it could have been written better. So he came back the next week and he said, did you have it checked? I said yes, and he said it was okay. I said yeah, it was perfect, which was not what the guy said. But I didn't want to feed this particular thing. Actually, when he went, I did what a responsible rabbi would do. I immediately phoned his doctor. It was one of my professors in Cairo once upon a time. I said, Pliny was here, Zave, and he said, and he wasn't sort of like getting excited about it. I said, he said he wasn't getting excited. He said, well, actually, he's told me these sorts of things, and he went to ask the Manchester Rosh Hashiva, is it possible he sees these things? Yes, it's possible. Right? So that's a freak. That's. I mean, he hadn't worked to be a Manchester Rosh Hashiva, to be a stipler or something like that. These people actually see things. So he says, listen, I'll go back to this here, this is Kli Yoker. Derech Moshe, for example, im yodo shehu mekabel shoichet, if you know that this person is mekabel shoichet, he lends money, so this Cohen lends money with interest. Yodo boy sheseifu bo lidei evorin, he'll become blind. So that would be. Right, that's one, certainly so for a Cohen. Bim raw boy regel gaiva, and if he sees them regel gaiva, okay, yoda bosh seifa bol lidei sheba regel, he's going to break his ankle or break his foot, etc. Valkoras pona venosa, etc., 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 etc. He gives all sorts of examples along those lines. Very interesting idea. So that means to say that it literally means that if he will have a mum, then he can't be a Kohen. Now, of course, we don't pass on that law. I mean, that's nonsense, right? Halachically speaking. But he's saying hashkafically speaking, or Kabbalistically speaking.
Could have been born with it.
Sorry, oh no, we're saying we're not talking about born. That's going to sound positive, yeah. That's different, yeah. Because that's the next positive. It's not that will be in him, but he's already got. That's somebody who's born. But somebody who will be, that means he's perfectly healthy, perfectly natural, and normal in every aspect of his body, not one long limb and all the other sort of stuff. Then this person could still be knocked out of being a Kohen, who does the avodah, who works in the Beis HaMikdash from the point of view of he will have a mum. So that's what I saw in Shul last week, and I was more than a little confused by that. And the reason, well, can you tell me what's wrong with that, or is there anything strike you as wrong with that, or do you like it? Like obviously I hated it. He says that first Michael said, how can an Achron make stuff up like this? Where's the source? He does actually say it's in the rumors in a Yalkut, so in the Yalkut Shmoni somewhere. I haven't had a chance to check this yet. But yeah, what are you saying?
No, I'm just saying.
Anything strike you strange with this?
Oh,
excellent! So the Gemara Rosh Hashanah says, "In Donan is Odom El Lefi Ma'aser Shol Isa Shol." So the famous story when
is that a contradiction?
You're judged by the present, not the future. What you're going to do later on, what's that going to do with the price of cheese? That's exactly where we're going tonight.
Oh, how is that he's saying that he's going to break a leg because he's 40 now?
Yeah, because he has. See, not break a leg. You're not going to be a Kohen, right? If you're going to be excluded from doing the avodah because of something you're going to do in the future. Or are you going to be punished for something? Rather, yeah, it's got to be clear here. You're going to be excluded from being a Kohen Because you'll have a psul in the future that will make you come, and that psul is caused by your behavior now. But your behavior, we don't judge a person for what they do, what they're doing in the future, what's going to happen to them in the future. You're judged as you are now. There's a famous story.
He's not acting haughty now?
Sorry?
Is he not acting haughty now?
Yes, he is acting haughty.
So that's a soul.
It's not psul to be a con.
But
To the avoid in the basic English. Of course it's psul. It's a very interesting idea.
The mum, it's not a psul, it's a reflection that you're doing something wrong, but the Shpoch was giving you a mum, and then you can walk in the same English. If someone can see that you're taking shoichad, so you don't need to wait for the mum. That's already the mum. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, very good. Because that's more or less the direction we're going to go. But it struck me as strange because, of course, when Hogan and Shmuel are thrown out, and Hashem sends a malach to save her, then there's a big fight there. Ba'asher hu sham, says the pasuk, and the malachim say, but they're going to cause your children, Bnei Yisrael, to die of thirst. Famous story after Churban Ben Shrishan, and you're saving them. You're bringing water to them. Is he a tzaddik or is he not a tzaddik? No, he's a tzaddik. Well, if he's a tzaddik, you judge the person as how he is. Sorry?
So Yishmael had done teshuvah.
No, he hadn't done anything wrong at that stage. That's right. He hasn't done anything wrong there.
He had done teshuvah. Whatever tzachayik that Sarah had kicked him out for, which...
You shouldn't kick Yishmael out for anything
wrong.
Yeah, I think her problem is with Hagar, not with Yishmael. She can deal with Yishmael if the mother is going to be
the first time that she got kicked out. It was before she gave birth.
That's right.
And this was sometime later.
Yeah,
So
there's a whole drosha. Yeah, he's not going to.
So
she's.
says, Gimel Chamurais.
Sorry, yeah.
He was busy with the Gimel.
No, you're right. Okay, fine.
He used to shoot at Yitzhak and barely miss him.
Yeah, I think I'd throw somebody up for that as well. Yeah. We actually had we fostered a little boy for a year, and he came from a very, very terrible background. Both parents were schizophrenic, and I made we're going to adopt him eventually, but I made a condition that if the child inherited the parent's illness, and there's a very high likelihood that such a thing would occur if both parents are schizophrenic. One parent's schizophrenic, it's a slight, hike in the possibility of that both parents are schizophrenic. That's pretty bad. And he actually, I think 3 times when my oldest daughter was a little girl, 2 or 3, pushed her down the stairs. So throwing somebody out who does that's a thing that makes sense. Okay, fine. So this is the morale of Prague has to say in this Gemara, and it says it's very interesting. I find it very interesting. Indon is Adam Elathi Maisa Shal Isa Shah. Atam Hu Goli. The reason that we don't judge somebody except as he is or she is at that particular moment, Ki Midas Adin Eina Sholat Ela Bedopra Hanimtsa. Because it's a case, the Midas Adin is only interested in facts. Somebody told me there was a whole case recently in this one of the magazines, and there's some column about a Dean Tower and stuff like that, and the Dayan of it passed something. Lots of women were very upset because it seemed unjust. So the Dayan of whoever shares this column said, our job is not to consider if it's unjust or not. What's the halacha say? The Midas Adin is simply concerned with the halacha and the Metzias, and he says, Ki Midas Adin ina shalat ela bedover hanimsa. The Midas Adin can only concern itself with the reality that exists at the moment. You've done something. Ki adin hu dover goli. That's to say that the dover, it has to be clear. The case is the reason for the case is clear. But for something that's hidden and is not yet come to fruition, in Midas Adin chalala. Midas Adin has got nothing to do with this. It's not its concern. Lefichach Omer Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Don is Adam Lefi Ma'asav Shel Ois Hashem. Sorry, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem only deals with the person. It's a Din only deals with the person as he is at that moment in time. There is a very interesting Shlomo Volba on the subject, and Shlomo Volba, he says a very interesting thing. The pasuk you're all familiar with, Tomim Tiyeh Im Hashem Alekech. And Rashi says, Al tachor achar asidos. Don't concern yourself with looking into the future and what the future will bring. And there is, of course, this is Rabbi Yaakov Hillel has a whole sefer on the subject, very, very important, particularly in the Sephardi world, but generally Eretz Yisrael is very much afflicted by Mekubalim. There's a plague of Mekubalim. Now, real Mekubalim is not a problem, but there's a plague of people who are not Mekubalim.
Those people aren't flooded.
Sorry?
Those people aren't flooded.
Well, the real ones, you mean?
Right.
Yeah, the general rule somebody once told me is like this: if somebody says he's Makubal, he's not. Right? You know, a shingle is saying no, Kabbalist here. You know, that's a bad sign. Did I ever tell you that story about the girl in the seminary in Manchester? Here's a very interesting. I'm going off all sorts of tangents tonight. I prepared this, yeah, but I'm not going to get it finished. No. Anyway, so basically in Manchester there's two seminaries in Manchester in those days, the Hasidic one and the Litvish one. So I taught in the Litvish one and then I moved over to the Hasidic one. And now you'll be able to help me with this. When was the first Gulf War? 1980 something? Was it 91? 91. And if you remember that Saddam Hussein was threatening to fire Scud missiles at Eretz Yisrael, filled with chemical warfare elements. And that's when the whole thing about it. And they're sealed rooms, Jews have to be in, not just their bomb shelters, but sealed rooms. Must have been Gehenna when they were like frying.
It's just like a tape.
Yeah, regular terrorists, that's the, yeah. Anyway, and so my mishpacha was there, and I remember them telling me about it. It was just horrible, you know, because you could have air conditioning on. You know, it had to be sealed. Anyway, so this was better than chemical attacks. Anyway, there was a father of a girl, he lived in Lakewood, and the girl, he was scared to send his daughter to seminary in Eretz Yisrael, which she was scheduled to go to because all American girls go basically to Eretz Yisrael. And he diverted her to come to our seminary in Manchester. And her name was Leah Rubenstein. So because we shared the same surname, I only got to know for 2 weeks, but you know, there was a little bit of a kesher there, not much, but a little bit of a kesher. And then on November the 5th, in November the 5th in 1991, and November the 5th in England is like our 4th of July. Right, it's bonfires and...
Remember the 5th of November.
How do you know that? Gosh. Anyway, yeah, so there was a plot to blow up the House of Commons, and it was caught, and the guy called Guy Fawkes. You see these masks, all these protests, yeah. That's the guy masks. Anyway, so basically they have a bonfire and they burn the guy. There's a straw doll is meant to be Guy Fawkes, and they burned him, and I think that's what happened to him anyway. And so the night sky was full of fireworks, and this girl, together with a bunch of her girlfriends, were in the top bunk of the bed looking out, and there was a freak accident. The entire window frame fell out, and she fell 1 floor out from, so that's, I mean, 1 floor is not huge. It's, well, you probably know better than me, but I'm saying, 15 feet? And she fell onto grass, so when she fell onto concrete. Anyway, she wasn't feeling well and they rushed her to hospital. And they found that she'd ruptured her liver. Now, the liver, apart from purifying the blood, the liver has another crucial function in the body. It makes the coagulant, the clotting, the thickening aspect of the blood. So if you cut yourself, then of course it turns into it's a natural stopper and it forms a scab, right? But if the liver itself is bleeding, it can't do its job. It's injured, and therefore it's not making the coagulant, and that was that. Anyway, at that time, there was a Makubal from Eretz Yisrael who was visiting Manchester. And his shtickle, because sometimes they look at mezuzahs, sometimes they look at your palm. His shtickle was kasubas. And when he heard what had happened, he said, if you look at the parents' kasuba, you'll see that only one of the edim signed the kasuba. So the kasuba was faxed across from Lakewood, Bekach happened, and that's exactly what happened. Well, and he was staying with one of the Dayanim in Manchester, so that gave added gravitas and chashivas to him. And when people in the whole Manchester community heard about this, they were just like, whoa! And everybody wanted to take the kasubas to him to let them see him. So my late wife and I made an appointment to go and see him as well. But I was in the hospital with the girl, well, not with the girl, because she was in intensive care, and we were all waiting. There was a couple of Rabbanim from the seminary waiting outside, And the doctor attending her was one of my ex-university students, so I was getting the inside, and it was not looking good. In fact, she died that afternoon. By the way, incidentally, I knew a guy in Manchester, a non-Jewish fellow, a nice guy called Bill. He was a window cleaner. And you see window cleaners, these huge big buildings, and they sit and it looks like a pair of like boxer shorts, made of leather with wires. And you're supposed to, by law in England, you have to submit them wires for checking every month. So he'd be handing it to one of these guys, he's supposed to do it, and the guy hadn't bothered. So he was up there one day, and something, ting, 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 8 floors onto concrete. A year later, he was cleaning windows again. Right. This girl fell 1 floor onto grass. I'll be at a show. Anyway, by the time I got back, she had passed away. I came before she passed away, and I was late for the appointment. My wife was already in, so I went into there was the fellow there. He's a Hasidic guy with long pants, and his shamus was there. We spoke in Yiddish, and he asked about the girl, and then went outside. So I asked him what had he said, and he told my wife really appallingly scary stuff. I mean, not appalling, just he knew stuff. How many miscarriages she's had, that's a very private thing, right? Other stuff. And eventually he'd said to her, and what's your Hebrew name? So my late wife didn't have a Hebrew name, she had a Yiddish name, which she hated and didn't use. She used her English name, which was Joy. So her Yiddish name was Henne Yenta. So Yenta, as you call her Mavin Yovin, as they say. They was versteht in English. Okay, fine. So basically, so he said, no, you've got to have a Hebrew name. So he suggested that she added a Hebrew name, and he suggested Malka, Gila, Yafa, and maybe Rina, something like that. Whatever. Anyway, so basically, this would mean, I don't know why, but I can't figure this out. This would mean writing a new Ksuba. I don't know why. But anyway, that seemed to be the thing, and the Dayan was churning out new Ksubas for people. So I was very uncomfortable with this, because the idea of writing, now Reb Leib Gurevich, whom I mentioned before, he read my Ksuba on the Beit Chuppah. One of the Eidim in my Ksuba was Rabbi Falk, the famous Bal Halacha in Gateshead, the book on Sneas and various these Rematzios brother-in-law. It's about that, right? And he taught me the laws when I was a chosel. He taught me the Hilchos Nida when I was a bocher. And I wasn't quite so comfortable with tearing up this Ksuba and writing in Ksuba. So I phoned my Rov, the Gitzad Rov, Rabbi Rakov, the Rov Gitzad. And I told him why I was phoning. And I was very, very close to my Rov, very close, for a very long time. And all the time I knew him, which was decades, I don't think he was ever angry with me until I phoned him then. I told him the situation, asked him what he thought. He said to me, why didn't you ask me before you went to see this man? Mm-hmm. Did he ask you for money? I said, no. Did he have a shamas? Yes. Did he ask you for money? I said, no. He said, well, I wouldn't do such a thing unless I got a brocha from a tzaddik. And he sent me to the Manchester Rosh Hashiva. And when I told the Manchester Rosh Hashiva the story, and he asked what's your wife's name, and I said, Henne Yenta, he laughed. He said, yes, you can add a name. But the point of the story is, I'm sorry, I got completely off the view. The point of the story is a very important point, and that is, the point of the story is
he saw through her.
No, the point of the story is you could have somebody who could see and know that there's only one person signed the Ksuba, and still be a fraud. So going to see a makubal is a very specialized job. Nobody should rush to see a makubal. It's like going to see a specialist. You go to your MD. Most MDs are doctors with a broad, shallow knowledge of medicine. And they can see there's a problem, then they send you to the expert. If you have something, Rahmanas land in your life you felt needs the intervention of a makubal, don't look up the yellow page. Don't Google. Sounds funny. Go and speak to a Talmud Chacham and say, who is reliable? Because so many frauds and so many phonies.
What about magicians?
They're all.
Yeah, they're very, very. Yeah, there's a in Rabbi Falk's book. It's in Shabbos and Shubas, which is something called something Eli, I can't remember. He's got a whole shayla whether you can watch a magician perform. Not that we're pointing any fingers to anybody in particular. He says I'll be a loch. It's okay as long as you explain what you're doing, how the trick worked.
Every trick?
Before your shows, you
I
say
usually explain one trick a show.
Well, maybe that would be enough. Yeah. Don't worry. How many are sideways?
The idea is to show that
You tell them that it's fake.
the trick.
Yeah,
That's the idea.
maybe that's enough. Yeah.
All the magician in Israel, when they started, they're saying it's not a kishur, please. We're doing some tricks. So
Yeah.
They're starting the show like this.
That's how I start my shows.
Anyway, that's because he starts off. So we're back to Shlomo. Tom Tiem of Shem Elokecha. You should be telling me, don't look at the future. And he says, I mean, it's so good. I think we'll spend some time here, but I'll get tons. It's definitely going to be a 2 week show.
this guy was a past. This guy's looking into your past, though.
Sorry, what?
This
Oh yeah.
fellow-
Well, I'm not. Yeah, okay, yeah.
He was looking into your past.
I'm not sure if he was a charlatan. I'm saying he could be a charlatan. And I guess the rope is certainly very
And you
angry.
suspect this fellow was.
Well, yeah. Subsequently, there was people who were made it quite clear that he's been. So I'll tell you. There's a postscript to that story. There was a lady who came to see me once. She was 44, second marriage, never had any children, desperate of children, like every lady who's never had any children. And somebody had told her, a friend of hers in Eretz Yisrael, said there's a particular fellow, and this fellow is helps women all the time with these problems. You should phone him, and gave her the number. So the lady phoned this fellow, and he picked up the phone, and she said, "Is this Rabbi Pliny, whatever he was? Don't know the name anymore." And he just said to her, "Not yes." He said to her, "I see that your body is closed." So this is a woman who hasn't had any children, and he just immediately says, "I see that your body is closed." So she felt the hair sort of like sticking up in the back of her, and we can help you. We learn Kabbalah every morning before Shacharis. We will learn it in your schools, and you will have a child. She's still not said what she's phoning about. At this point, you can hear her, you can imagine her shaking and stuff. And he said, we have a breakfast after the chakras. We'd expect you to sponsor that. That was $1,000. This is going back 15 years ago. What are they having? Caviar? Champagne? $1,000 for breakfast. Anyway, and that was that. So she came to ask me, what did I think? And I said, he's a fraud. And she said, how do you know? I said, he wants money. Real Makabal, just because you're Makabal doesn't stop you being a Jew, doesn't stop you, wanting to help people. That's a mitzvah called chesed, no? So he wants $1,000 now. And of course, as soon as I said that, I realized I'd really made a huge mistake. Because what did she want to believe? She wanted to believe that the guy could wave a magic wand and make her have a child. And what had I said? Exactly what she didn't want to hear. So I could see she was slipping through my fingers, as it were. And I said, look, I'm just a little rabbi, but I'm closer to Matziel Solomon, who she'd heard of. I said, phone him. And what do I know? Maybe I'm wrong. Phone him. So she phoned him, and he said, no, Rabbi Rubenstein is right. I call me Rabbi Rubenstein. Anyway, Rabbi Rubenstein is right. And he explained to her how it could be that such a person could have such koichas, could be able to do such stuff, even though that he is a fraud. Just because maybe he came from a family of Mekabonim of people who were real. And incidentally, the fellow I'm talking about comes from a famous family of Mekabonim in Eretz Yisrael.
They're not using Kodesh HaTorah?
They could be using Kodesh HaTorah, or they could have been taught insights, etc. Or they could have, look, we've got Nevi'im, who were real Nevi'im who went off, so that, you could easily have somebody who had insights and koichas, but, went off and used them incorrectly. So anyway, that was Baruch Hashem, that lady who stopped. If all they're taking from you is your money, sadly the stories are really dreadful. I can solve your problem, but you have to sleep with me tonight. And there's, have you ever been to Omer? Have you been to Meron?
Yeah. A lot of them out there.
Have you seen the Jews who go there?
Yeah.
Particularly the Sephardim?
Yeah.
So simple, so straight. I mean, a lot of them are, I've done there for about 10 years, but, have come from countries where they're very, very open to exploitation. Anyway.
They're saying in Iran that inside, next to the cavery, it's like Yom Kippur. Outside is Simchas Torah, and all the way down is Chadai.
I saw there were weird stuff, and they've got there was a woman there wearing bikini tops. I mean, really, having barbecues and wearing bikini tops and banging drums. There's a whole big thing with banging drums with Egyptian hieroglyphics of Avodah Zarah all the way around, bang, 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 bang. And I mean, my wife and I went there. It's been 8 years ago.
It's a wild city.
It's weird. Balagan.
I was there then too.
Sorry,
I was there then too.
was it you? Okay, you don't sit in a bikini top. Anyway, I'll see this.
Then.
Sorry. Elakol masha maybe alecha kabel bahaba etc. Fine. Kol odom mitavay choyshev machshavas ala osid harbe yesem esher alavon. Again, I was just going to read this to you because it's very interesting. I think it's fabulous. Most of us think about the future more than we think about the present. B'der klal. Lo mashem shu chochem aroyas anoilad. You're not thinking about the future because you're which the Gemara says you should calculate what you're doing at the present because how it's going to affect the future. No. Ela b'mnei shedimion meshaited ba'osid ve'sharosel v'bilti megvalos. Because when you're thinking about the future, there is no end of the possibilities that are offered to you by the future. Yeah, you're going to win the lottery in the future. You're going to write a book, and it's going to be a bestseller. There's no more time for me, etc. But fantastic. But a real chochem who's looking at the future, then it's to work on his present. Gu mafkin. But the Saz called Maisa Shal Hava, Omer Lona Atara Lola Chaka Klal Ala Sidas. He understands that the plans now could have effect, but the Torah says don't focus on the future. Bavoy Masha Gozra Ashkocha Lavoy, Dahaina Kashu Havoy, Velo Osid, Alena Lekabel Batimims. What's going to come is going to come, and that's from Hashem Yisbarach. You should accept that. You should concentrate on the present. Me'idach. Now, if we flip the coin over, Al Tamar Ma Hoya Hashayom Harishainim Hoya Tovim Meleki Lo Mechoch Mashanas Azeh. Famous Posuk in Kehelis, and Rashi talks about that. Don't say that the previous generations were so much better and Rashi says this law derech chacham, that's stupidity. The chachamim you've got, the gedolim of your generation, the gedolim that you need for your generation. So whichever way you look at it, you should not be concerned with the past, nor should you be concerned with the present. Your life, havoi lo mechachma. That's not chachma. But yesh lo redis lo omchel shel hadavar. Let's consider this. Gam odem bechayav noitel lirois es haover betzoba yoser behem boher asher al havoi balama. You see, I think we would translate this in English as you see the past through rose-colored glasses. Do we not? Again, Odom B'chayev Noitel Lirois Es HaOver. The good old days, that's right. That sort of stuff. V'lama. Hari Masha Hoya B'yoda Lahasig B'over Hasig, because it's done. You've achieved what you achieved, and you passed those, etc., etc. And you feel secure about the good old days. Over Hu to Kufa Simon Mekhover. It's already done. Homage, hasig bo, hu dover bora. And what you achieved is clear. What you've done. There's a clarity. There's a certainty. Well, certainty is a knowledge of the past, which you'll never have about the future. Bavo in adayin shem hasag. But the present, what you're dealing with, your present, you don't know how it's going to work out. The present's always a gamble. Not a gamble, but it's an unknown. Ki hakol rak masabas. Everything, your reality is the present. Avohu to kufas avoida ba'oid shasogas adayin me'orafelis. The definition of the present is your behavior as a Jew when they're, as it were, it's in the fog. You don't know how it's going to work out. You're doing the right thing, hopefully, but you don't know if it's going to work out. You're keeping the mitzvahs? Is that going to mean you're a rikas yomim and you're going to have a shiras or not? You don't know. Listen to the Lashon here. Because it was clear to you in the present, and then automatically it'll be the past. The present itself, every moment of the present, is by definition the unknown. Right? But I know there's a shir tonight. I know you guys turned up tonight because that's already the past. Right? as soon as you walk through the door. I don't know about next week. People prefer certainty. We like certainty in our life. Okay, I guess what comes out is to look about the future, to try and work out what's going to happen to you in the future. That's a lack of emunah. Interesting notion. Almost best. Yeah, here's also the chesaron tamimus. Sorry, tamimus. Gegoyin over longing for the past. Chesaron chochma. That's just stupid. The past's gone anyway. But hechrach alena las rakas ak barak ela avol. But that means that it's compulsory on us to focus on the present. And Rabbi Besser writes, that's what your life is. Life's in the present. Okay. Now I'm going to miss out a chunk here. Or maybe I need to do that. On Matzina. Oh, sorry. I'm going to miss out the most important bit. On the Matzina, however, we find Ki ben Sar Amira, Basar and Mara Nidan al Shem Seifei. But we're supposed to focus on the present. And the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah says, the present. But what about the Ben Sarah Mara? Clearly, he is killed or put to death, assuming there ever was a Ben Sarah Mara, and the Gemara talks about that, for what he's going to do, not what he's done. Ach lo hayonidin lemisa lu lo nimsa boy geroin rab avo me'atzadik din mitzadik din zeh. But you should know that there was no way that the person, even in the case where the Ben Sarah Mamara actually would happen, there's no way we would carry out the case of the din for the sof if we already didn't see in the present the seeds of that. Ki b'hava nimsa kol. Listen to this, and Rav Shlomo Wolbe has got this emphasized, bolded. Ki b'hava nimsa kol, because in the present you see everything. The fruits of the past, you are the way you are because of what happened in the future. And the way you are now is going to determine what sort of things and actions you will take in the future. Everything's in the present. And Sarah Mara Elchel Bosa eats this, whatever it was, this amount of meat. Below Shoma Bekal Ovi does that. So he's a glutton or he's a fresser, so he's a hedonist. Bekal Ovi does the Ima does these parents. Tzir of Ma'asem Elo Mahaba Geroin L'Shorish. This present is the seed that's going to come to fruition in the future. V'lo Nidan Beglal Shorish there. And he's Nidan, the din of Ben Sarah is because of the present, which will come to the future. But if there was no evidence in the present of anything wrong, then what he did in the future would be irrelevant. Then the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah would kick in. He's done for the present, not for the future. But the Ben Sarah is being judged for the present, where he is now, which will inevitably lead to that future. Teshuvah? If there's no teshuvah. Zehu das Torah. Lo l'doig l'osid v'lo l'izgeh l'over. Don't worry about the future. Don't be enthralled with the past. Ela toifus es avol l'moz avodas v'egir. That's what you should do. And as we said, the Gemara says in Kafalef and Rosh Hashanah, you should not judge a person except for what he is now. Shenemar ki shma Elokim es koil hanar b'asher husham. This was the story. B'zeh noram oid. Shebedin shamayim einu tzrichim lahavi sefer hazikran lekra b'seicha. Heaven doesn't have to look. Heaven knows already what's going to go on. But we judge a person for the moment he is now. Because that's the whole of the person. The present is where you really are. We judge them then. The boy golem kol avorai bo shorish kol sidoi. That's where he came from. That's where he's going to. Al pi mahusam. It says beregim. It says it's called the dina la'or. And from that, you can see if you look carefully in the present, what's going to happen to the person in the future. That sounds a bit like the Kli Yoker. If therefore we're seeing, to go back to Kliyokar, and we will stop here and we'll come back to this next week, and then we've got more juicy stuff to get through with the wonderful Reb Chaim Levitz in this, and the Rabbi Esther, and the Ben Ish Chaim, and Rabbeinu Yonah, and Rabbeinu Bachya, if I remember rightly. Anyway, so basically, therefore, the Kli Yoker, which said that we look at him now there's a problem. This guy, he's already giving shochat. So the problem, or he's already haughty, as you said, to use the word. That's the way he is now. That is sufficient to show you what's going to happen in the end. This is giving strength, although halachically, again, but Api Halacha, this is not the case. But the argument of the Kli Yoker already seems to have a lot of support from the Maharal of Prague and from Rav Shlomo Wolbe. However, next week we will see if we can mix it up a bit.